When I say I don't want to fight Mexican, it's because I represent Mexico.
I feel like Canelo's a fucking pussy.
Canelo doesn't jab anymore. He looks for one shot now. You know, I mean, the end is there for Canelo.
Maybe the most feared fighter in boxing. Ever see Julio Cesar Chavez in his prime? I'm talking about the daddy. I'm talking about one of the greatest fighters ever. This guy is the closest thing I have seen to a big Julio Cesar Chavez. David, I'm not putting the Chavez thing on you. I'm just saying, you're the closest thing I've seen to a big dude who fights like that. Oh, Canelo's ducking him. This dude's a monster. And I looked and I thought, am I right or wrong about that?
Oh, you're definitely right. You know, you're looking at a man that's not going to let anything outside the ring, you know, mess with his game. But like I said, at the end of the day, I'm not scared of nothing. You know, I accept and I invite war. You know, so if that's what the people of Riyadh, Saudi Arabia want to see, well, let's give it to them. I think everybody is starting to see that I'm fearless, I'm relentless, and I'll fight anybody to get my respect in the ring.
After seeing how things played out in the boxing landscape, he came out with no hesitation at all, speaking in a very direct and confident tone. He didn't just push for the fight, he went a step further and openly questioned Canelo Alvarez, suggesting that for years Canelo has been avoiding a certain type of challenge that fans have been demanding. He also pointed out that one particular name has continued to follow Canelo throughout his career, with many people believing it represents a matchup he has repeatedly stayed away from and not fully engaged with.
Canelo, he was talking about how he didn't want to give David Benavidez the fight because he was being disrespectful.
When you look at the history of Canelo, all the fighters that was disrespectful, calling them out, and he fought all of them. But I just think from a Mexican standpoint, one being extra disrespectful towards the other, he took the sport out of it, and he just felt as if he wasn't going to give Benavidez the payday that.
Benavidez has made it clear he's ready to finally settle everything and take the throne for himself, especially now, after what many are calling Canelo Alvarez's shocking setback against Terence Crawford. That moment has only made the situation more intense and impossible to ignore. Just a short time ago, the boxing world was left stunned when Crawford, the undisputed welterweight champion, moved up 2 weight classes and delivered a performance that many felt exposed Canelo in a way few expected it. Wasn't just seen as a loss, but as a one-sided display that raised real questions about the aura Canelo once carried. Even veteran trainers like Ronnie have started to suggest that Canelo may no longer be operating at his absolute peak.
Crawford, by unanimous decision, he got that. You know, I just thought Crawford was too fast for Canelo. So many combinations. Canelo doesn't jab anymore. He looks for one shot now. You know, I mean, the end is there for Canelo.
While Oscar De La Hoya also analyzed Canelo's performance in detail and pointed out the mistakes that led to the outcome, this wasn't treated as just another bout. It quickly turned into a defining moment that reignited long-standing calls for a fight fans have wanted for years. In a recent interview with Inside the Ring, David Benavidez also reacted to Terence Crawford's achievement, giving him full respect and acknowledging the magnitude of what he accomplished. He said Crawford has secured a place in boxing history that only a very small group of fighters ever reach, even suggesting that his run across multiple weight divisions and becoming undisputed has placed him among the sport's all-time greats. Benavidez further added that what stood out most wasn't just skill, but the heart Crawford showed in that performance, calling him a real fighter and saying that level of determination is something others in boxing should study and learn from.
First of all, I just want to give Terence Crawford a great congratulations. You know, he's reached a part in history that only so many fighters get to even accomplish in boxing. You know, he's one of the greatest of all time. There's nothing, you can't take that away from him. Terence Crawford should be on the Mount Rushmore in boxing, because not only did he go up 3 weight classes, he beat one of the best fighters of his generation. I don't remember any time in history where anybody has come up from 147 pounds and won the super middleweight championship. Not only just won, but the undisputed. He's won every single title. So, you know, man, that man, not only is he a great fighter, but you could tell in that fight by seeing this combination right now how much of a dog he is. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of fighters could take a lot of notes from Terence Crawford, not only physically, but as take notes in the heart aspect. And I give it all up to Terence Crawford. You know, he's one of the greatest of all time. And, you know, we salute.
4 years Benavidez has been building his case as one of the most dangerous forces in the division. He is a 2-time WBC champion and remains unbeaten with a perfect record of 30 victories and 25 of those coming by knockout. The kind of dominance has kept him in the spotlight as a constant looming threat in the direction of Canelo Alvarez and one of the most talked about challengers in the sport.
I got 3 WBC belts right here. I'm the best in the division. If they want to give me an opportunity now or later, I'm gonna keep winning. You know, like I said, I'm gonna be the greatest of my generation by the time I'm done. And My job is not complete until I make that happen. For Canelo and everybody else, it just shows everybody I'm not around. I'm here to stay. I just look at the facts. You know, people want to see this fight more than Carlos Adames and Charlo. You know, that's why that fight hasn't happened. But for me and Canelo, we have motion. You know what I mean? I've been winning the fights I'm supposed to win in fantastic fashion. He has nobody else to fight. You know what I mean? So if they want to give it to me now, later, whenever.
This wasn't just talk or online speculation, it was treated as a real negotiation behind the scenes, with reports suggesting a huge $70 million offer was presented to Canelo Alvarez to step into the ring for the fight. Benavidez himself acknowledged those discussions and made it clear he was willing to take a far smaller share, reportedly accepting around $5 million just to get the matchup finalized, showing how badly he wants the opportunity to make the fight happen.
Really like to bash somebody because at the end of the day, I give respect to Canelo. He's a great fighter.
Yeah.
He's one of the best Mexican fighters of all time.
But wanting to fight him, David, is not bashing him.
Yeah.
That's not bashing him.
But that's what I'm saying. They spin the narrative on Instagram.
Right.
If I say something, they say this or that. But I only want what I earned.
Right.
And I'm entitled to it. From what the WBC told me, they say you win a title limiter, we'll give you a title shot. You win the WBC interim title, we'll give you a title shot. I've been in this position for 3 years. So just because Canelo, he could do what he wants, as he says.
Right.
He's not going to fight the top competition. And he's holding all those belts hostage, bro. And it's not like you got other great fighters too. You got me and David Morrell's there.
Yeah.
How is it fair that these sanctioning bodies let him pick and choose who he wants to fight? And then the Canelo fans too that be talking shit, bro. Like, do you guys not want to see the best fights?
Right.
Like, I don't understand. I'm just trying to make the best fights happen. And that's it. At the end of the day, I just want to give the fans what they want to see.
Yet after Benavidez gave his side and showed willingness to move forward, everything suddenly went silent. No updates, no negotiation talks, just complete radio silence. This wasn't coming from an inexperienced contender. Either he had already proven himself the hard way. His recent run of performances showed exactly why he was in this position. First, he broke down and outworked Caleb Plant in a heated grudge match that turned into a statement win. Then he followed it up by completely overwhelming the previously undefeated Demetrius Andrade, forcing the stoppage and sending a clear message that he belongs at the very top of the division.
Scared of nobody. I've heard everybody that's been in front of me, and Canelo's no different. And I will hurt him too, and I'll take all his belts. It's crazy that he asked for 150 million or 200 million to fight me, but he still has the nerve to say that I don't bring nothing to the table. So if I didn't bring nothing to the table, why are you asking for more money than you won in your whole career if I don't mean anything? Maybe after he gets that money, he can buy himself a pair of balls.
What I wanted to tell you guys too, I mean, this guy, he's making the most money out of everybody. He's charging you guys so much for the pay-per-views. It's like he's spitting in your guys' face, saying that he doesn't give a fuck what you guys want. He's not going to give you the best fights. He's going to fight the fights that he wants. In my opinion, that's a little bit disrespectful to the fans, but he has cult-like fans that, you know, they don't tell him shit and they're happy with whatever he does. But at the end of the day, if you hold all the titles, you got to fight the best in the division. I'm number one in the division, number one contender. The second one is David Morrell. He's not fighting me, nor he's not fighting David Morrell. So it makes no sense. How is he going to call himself the champion and have all these belts if he doesn't fight the number one or the number two guys? Why is he asking $200 million? Why, when they bring my name up with him, that's the most money he's going to make. When he fought Amir Khan, I weighed him at like 25 pounds. But, you know, I think it's just he's running out of excuses and running out of things to say, but that's just how it is. I guess that's when you're the cash cow, you can do whatever.
He reflected on his entire journey and said that ever since he was just 3 years old, he had only one dream: to become the greatest boxer of all time, and he firmly believes that goal is still within reach. He explained that this lifelong ambition is the driving force behind everything he does, and the reason he continues to chase the biggest names and toughest challenges in the sport.
In the ring with both guys, Canelo and Benavidez, if they fought, which I don't think they're gonna fight no time soon, who you think will win?
Man, that's hard to say. I think both have pros and cons. You know, I feel like the things that Canelo does better than David. There's things that David does better than Canelo. In a way, I'm not comparing it to this fight, but it's like the better be of Bivol fight. You can say who you think is going to win. You can't say like, oh man, I'm surprised the Bivol won, or I'm surprised the better be of won. You're like, man, that's a damn good fight. So-and-so won. So kind of how I feel about the David and Canelo fight, like who had the best camp? Who has the best game plan? Who slept the best the night before?
And it's not much that separates guys at that level.
If David can get on him with his combinations and not give him room to breathe, then, you know, that's probably a night that David gets his hand raised. You know, if Canelo is able to slow the pace down a little bit and catch him with a big shot, David's been dropped before from an off-balance shot. He wasn't really hurt, but, you know, would you be surprised if Canelo stopped him? You know, So it's hard to say, but
what happened next only made the situation even more intense as the pressure kept building and the whole boxing world started demanding answers, turning everything into an even bigger and more heated situation.
If Canelo was 100% confident in himself, I don't know why he wouldn't fight me, especially since, seeing that everybody in his team is on steroids, which means including him, so he never got off
You think he's on steroids?
Of course.
Sure.
How does five
You saw De La Hoya
how do five people out of your camp get tested positive for steroids?
Right.
You know what I mean? No, all those fucking dudes in that camp are dirty.
Call for David Benavidez once this fight is done. Is that a fight that you can see happening before the end of your career?
Look, I never say no to anything. We'll see later. But I'm focused 100% on this fight.
Is there a possibility, or you just go one at a time and you also speak with your team?
Yeah, I go one at a time, but it's a possibility. Always.
Right.
But I've been in this position my whole life. One was Stroh, that was in Toronto in 2012, 11. Then Mayweather, then Lara, then Cotto, then Callum Smith, then Golovkin, and then if I beat Benavidez, it's gonna be other guy there they want me to fight. So I've been in this position my whole life, but is that time when that fight they ask, I give it to them.
Mm-hmm.
But right now in this position I am, now is the time I need to ask.
The silence from Canelo only added more fuel to Benavidez's confidence, leading him to make even bolder claims during his inside-the-ring interview when asked about Canelo's reaction to his rise. He didn't hold back, saying he genuinely believes Canelo is avoiding him out of fear. He questioned why the fight hasn't happened yet, suggesting there is no reason not to step in the ring, make massive money, and prove it in front of the world. He also pointed to Canelo's past struggles against bigger, strong opponents like Bivol, saying he feels Canelo sees traits in him that are hard to deal with, such as speed, power, and relentless pressure. Benavidez made it clear that he has no hesitation about facing elite fighters because going against the best only pushes him further as a boxer and as a competitor.
So the way I've seen him handle my presence is he's definitely scared of me. If you have a fighter talking so much trash in front of you, why don't you make an example of him to the world? Beat me in the ring and make a whole lot of money. But Canelo Alvarez, as you can see from every time he fights a guy that's big with power, like Bivol, you know what I mean? And he's not able to suppress these fighters as much as he's able to suppress the little fighters. You know what I mean? So he sees a lot of things in me that he can't stop. Not only does he see speed, does he see power, but he sees a lot of heart in me. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I'm going in there and I want to prove myself to the world that I'm the greatest fighter. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't scare me to get in there with another great fighter because I know that elevates me and who I am as a boxer. As
Benavidez is now speaking with even more confidence as he continues to rise and fully step into his prime, believing that Canelo already let his best opportunity slip away. He claimed that if Canelo ever had a real chance to beat him, it would have been in the past. But at this stage, he feels that window is completely closed, and now there is no path left for Canelo to come out on top.
At the end of the day, he should have took the fight with me way back then, because if he had a chance to beat me, it would have been back then. He has no chance of beating me now, especially now. I'm getting all this. I'm getting all this confidence. I'm stepping into my prime. I'm able to deal with these bigger shows better. You know what I mean? I'm able to thrive in these shows. I'm able to. Every time I fight, I'm always winning by a significant amount. You know what I mean? So I'm learning my craft better and better each and every single fight. I'm gaining more confidence every single fight, and like I said, I really want to go in there and hurt people. I'm not a boxer. I'm a warrior, and I go in there.
This wasn't just empty talk. It was a clear statement of direction in this ongoing boxing chess match. Benavidez has recently started testing himself in the light heavyweight division, showing both comfort and ambition at 175 pounds. When asked about the idea of going back down to 168, he completely shut it down, saying he's no longer interested in that weight class, and even suggested letting Terence Crawford deal with that division. Instead, he made it obvious that his focus has shifted upward now. targeting much bigger challenges as he looks toward names like Dmitry Bivol Artur Beterbiev and even Zerdos Ramirez at cruiserweight, showing he's fully committed to chasing the biggest fights possible.
The new guy steps up that says, I am the new guy to carry that torch forward.
Kind of like how when you beat Tyrone Woodley, because you were the guy coming up and Tyrone Woodley was a dominant champion for a long time and you went and you beat the shit out of him. It's the same thing. I'm preparing very hard for this fight whenever it does happen. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I stay training, I stay evolving as a fighter. Not only do I want to prove to the fans, but I want to prove to myself that I'm the best in the world. So if the fight comes, good. If it doesn't, it's not the end of my career. And if he doesn't want to give me the opportunity at 168, that's why I'm going up to 175 right now. Because I'm not going to wait for nobody either. This fight's going to put me at the #1 contender to fight for the WBC title. And those are going to get unified at 175. So, like I said, dreams always come true. It doesn't matter if somebody else is trying to stop you. You're going to find your own way and you're going to make your dreams come true. To be honest with you, man, let Terence Crawford live. That's his weight class. I lost interest in 168 a long time ago. I know that we could get offered a lot of money to go down to 168, but I'm more comfortable at 175. I'm chasing Beterbiev. I'm chasing Bivol. I'm chasing these other bigger. I'm chasing Zurdo Ramirez at cruiserweight. You know what I mean? So I've been at 168.
This development only added more layers to the ongoing Canelo situation and suggested that Benavidez may have already moved beyond the 168-pound division where Canelo once dominated, making that weight class feel less relevant to him now. To make things even more complicated, after Terence Crawford's historic win, his trainer Brian McIntyre quickly dismissed any talk of a potential fight with Benavidez, shutting it down completely by saying they are not interested in that direction. This response only intensified the spotlight on Canelo, leaving him in an even more difficult position as pressure continues to build for the matchup fans have been demanding.
It's not that important to me to watch Canelo get beat like a rag doll over the ring. It's not that important to me, bro. And that's what's going to happen if you fight David Benavidez. So the only reason that we really interest you is that you have to see that. I don't care to see Canelo get beat up like that. It doesn't really...
I'm not saying he gets beat up, but
I think he gets hammered.
Okay, but regardless. So if David Benavidez wins the fight, that's my point. I think David's going to be the next star. And Canelo has to do what great Mexican legends do. They fight the next guy. They all do that. I want that. I think that's important for the legacy of the sport, for the legacy of the Mexican. That's the problem.
Why do we have to care more than Canelo, though?
But Canelo, Canelo does care about? The green. The green, obviously. 150, 200 million, he cares.
In life,
there's
everything
200
is about
million,
that now.
There's 200 million thoughts about caring for that fight now. So, okay, listen, we make that fight. However we make that fight happen, I think it's important for that fight to happen. I really do. I think David Benavidez has that star quality to be the next face of boxing. And beating Canelo, I think.
Yet Canelo still had options, at least on paper. At this stage of his career, the loss to Crawford is still recent, and the idea of an immediate rematch has already been shut down, leaving uncertainty around his next move. He is still contractually linked to 2 remaining fights, but there is heavy speculation about who he will face next. Many experts now see Benavidez as the most logical and compelling choice, a young, dangerous challenger, who has proven enough to deserve his shot at the former undisputed champion.
Yeah, you fight, but you avoid the monster. You understand me? That's going to tank the rest of his career if he keeps trying to fight. Well, it's tough to say because he's made enough money that he can retire. He really has nothing else to prove. We saw him go up. He did but he tested himself all the way up as far as he could go. He won the light heavyweight title, then he lost to Bivol. So that shows that the light heavyweight was his ceiling. That's good enough. Really, right now, he got nothing else to prove. Of course, if you keep fighting, people going to demand you fight the monster because both you guys are Mexican. But to me, you probably shouldn't do that. You understand me? It's probably not a good fight for you at this point, for real, especially coming off a loss to Terence Crawford. It's just, to me, I don't see the hunger there to really beat the monster. You understand me? And that's what my problem was already. I didn't think it was a good fight for him because I don't think the hunger is there. Terence Crawford just showed us that the hunger is really not there anymore like that. You understand me? So you have to be extraordinarily hungry to go out there and beat the monster because you got to put pressure on him from round 1 to round 12 or it's not going to work. And if you're not hungry, you're not going to do that. Same thing he would have had to do to Terence Crawford. He had to put pressure on him from round 1 to round, I'm talking about solid pressure, no space between them. He had to be in his chest for 12 rounds. But he ain't hungry enough to really do that. So if you're not hungry enough to do that, don't go waste your time. Just call it a day because everybody gonna want to see you fight the monster. I don't know if they're gonna be cool with you fight anybody else, but they're gonna keep pushing the monster narrative at you. You feel me? Now, if he wants to have a few more fights for himself, that's cool. But then it's gonna get very tainted with the fact they're gonna say, yeah, you fighting, but you avoiding the monster. You understand me? That's gonna tank the rest of his career if he keep trying to fight. So it's better for him.
However, doubts still linger that Canelo could end up taking a safer path by choosing less risky opponents in order to protect his record and extend his time at the top of the sport. The boxing world continues to watch closely, waiting to see whether he finally steps up to the biggest challenge available or continues down a more cautious route instead.
All right, look, Canelo never ducked anyone in his career until you got to super middleweight. And he clearly has not fought you, even though you were the #1 guy. But otherwise, he's been a guy who's willing to fight everyone. And I have thoughts about that I want to ask you about.
But I don't care. I fight anybody, and I fight all my entire life anybody. What do you think? I don't want to fight with Juan Mexico or Benavidez. But look, I hear his dad talking a lot of shit. But look, he's accomplished nothing. One single champion, Anthony Dirrell. Please, don't disrespect myself. Please, guys.
But there is now a new force influencing these massive fight decisions. Turki Al-Sheikh, the chairman of Saudi Arabia's General Entertainment Authority, has quickly changed the boxing landscape. With huge financial backing and major event power, he has already started teasing blockbuster matchups on social media, including a potential super middleweight clash between Terence Crawford and David Benavidez, a scenario that could completely shift attention away from Canelo and add even more complexity to the situation, especially as the money and stakes continue to rise to record-breaking levels.
Canelo's a fucking pussy. That's just my opinion. Because if we ever fight, the man is making well over $100 million. You know what I mean? If, let's say, he's saying that I don't have nothing to offer, that I'm nobody, that I need more experience, this and that. If you're gonna make $100 million fighting somebody that has no experience, that he sucks, this and that, all this shit that they've been talking about me, why would you not come beat my ass and collect a big bag on my head after the fight? Like, this is the same shit I'm doing with David Moreau. You know what I mean? It's the hardest fight, but fuck, I'm not scared of nobody. You know what I mean? I like I said, I embrace the challenges. So for Canelo and his fans saying that I don't bring nothing to the table, I don't do this, I don't do that, man, they're all scared, just like how he's scared. You know what I mean? And if he wants to come prove that I ain't shit, come prove it in front of everybody.